All right, hockey fanatics, buckle up because we've got some juicy insider information that could reshape the Vancouver Canucks' future. Forget everything you thought you knew about the offseason because we're diving deep into a potential blockbuster trade target that has everyone buzzing. Before we drop this bombshell, do us a favor and hit that hype button below. Let's show the world how passionate the Canucks fan base is and get this video the reach it deserves. Unveiling the Canucks' off-season center target, Pavel Zacha on the radar? Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to an exclusive deep dive into the Vancouver Canucks off-season strategy. The air is thick with anticipation as we uncover a name that's generating serious buzz around the league. Pavel Zacha of the Boston Bruins. Could this be the missing piece for the Canucks center depth? We're about to break down why this potential move makes perfect sense and the ripple effects it could have across the NHL. The Pavel legacy and a familiar foe. It seems the Vancouver Canucks have a knack for finding success with players named Pavel. And as we continue our quest to identify the ideal center for them to acquire this summer, we've landed squarely on Pavel Zacha. The Canucks and Bruins have a fascinating, albeit indirect, history of player movement. Last summer, we saw a complex, indirect exchange that effectively sent Nikita Zadorov and Elias Lindholm to Vancouver, with Jake DeBrusk, Danton Heinen, and Derek Forbort making their way to Boston through a series of UFA signings. But what if these two storied franchises could finally engage in a direct, old-fashioned trade this offseason? If they do, expect the 28-year-old 6'3", 207-pound Zacha to be at the very top of Vancouver's wish list. Why would the Bruins consider moving Zacha? Now, you might be asking, why would the Boston Bruins, a team that's grappled with the massive void left by Patrice Bergeron's retirement, even consider moving a player like Zacha, especially when their defensive center depth has clearly suffered? It all boils down to Boston's strategic direction moving forward. And we've identified a couple of key scenarios where Zacha could indeed hit the trade market. The first, though less likely, is a full-blown rebuild. After selling Brad Marchand and finishing outside the playoffs for the first time in recent memory, a complete overhaul might seem plausible. In this scenario, Zacha, at 28, might be considered a bit too old to retain, especially with younger, promising centers like Morgan Geekie, Matthew Poitras, Fraser Minton, and even Casey Middlestat already making their way through the system. However, a full rebuild seems a stretch given that the Bruins still boast veterans like Zadorov and Lindholm, alongside star power in David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm, and Jeremy Swayman, all locked into long-term contracts. So, it's more probable that Boston will opt for a restructure rather than a rebuild. In a restructuring scenario, the Bruins would be desperate for a true 1C. To achieve that, they'd almost certainly need to move one of their existing 6 centers, both for salary cap space and roster flexibility. Zacha, being the oldest of the bunch and still retaining significant trade value, becomes a prime candidate. There's also the disappointment factor to consider. The Bruins acquired Zacha with the hope that he would shoulder some of Bergeron's responsibilities post-retirement. While he's undoubtedly become a more complete two-way center in Boston than he was in New Jersey, he hasn't taken the full offensive leap expected of him. Now, the Bruins have other younger centers with higher offensive upside they'd love to give that opportunity to. But here's where it gets interesting. A different franchise, one without a glut of young centers and perfectly comfortable with Zacha remaining the decent 2C, might find him far more valuable than the Bruins currently do. And that, my friends, brings us back to the Vancouver Canucks. The player, a draft day disappointment turned dependable center. Pavel Zacha, the 6th overall pick in the 2015 NHL entry draft, still carries the bust label in some circles. Just look at the other top 10 talents from that year. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, Dylan Strome, Mitch Marner, Noah Hanifin, Ivan Provorov, Zach Werenski, Timo Meier, and Mikko Rantanen. Zacha is undeniably the worst of that elite group. But let's be clear, that doesn't make him a bad NHL player. It just means he was part of an exceptionally strong draft class. His draft projection made sense at the time. Zacha was a late bloomer who shot up the rankings in his draft year. primarily due to a rare combination of size, skating ability, and genuine puck skill. It's safe to say the New Jersey Devils didn't fully benefit from that 6th overall pick. Zacha jumped straight into the NHL in his Draft Plus 2 season, putting up a respectable 8 goals and 24 points as a rookie. However, Zacha quickly plateaued. He scored 25 points in his sophomore year, then 25 points again in his third year. The 2019-20 season seemed like a breakthrough, with 8 goals and 32 points in just 65 games, but it was still a plateau. He then notched 35 points the following season in just 50 games and 36 points in 70 games in the 2021-22 season. By this point, the New Jersey Devils, with Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier firmly established, were ready to move on. That summer, the Devils traded Zacha to the Bruins for Eric Haula, a more productive forward, sure, but also 6 years older than Zacha. The Bruins, meanwhile, still harbored hopes that Zacha would blossom. And, in a way, he did. Zacha's first season in Boston, 2022-23, was easily his best, with a significant offensive jump to 21 goals and 57 points in 82 games. He followed that up with another strong showing in 2023-24, tallying 21 goals and 59 points in 78 games, before a slight dip to 14 goals and 47 points in 82 games in 2024-25. In essence, Zacha became a consistent 50 to 60-point center virtually the minute he was traded to Boston, maintaining that level for 3 consecutive seasons. That's bona fide 2C production. But it's not just the offense. Zacha has also diligently worked on his two-way game and adapted remarkably well to Boston's structured system. He was, to put it mildly, a defensive liability in New Jersey. His 2020-21 season, his best offensive year with the Devils, saw him on the ice for 22 goals for and 36 goals against at 5-on-5. He reversed that trend almost instantly in Boston. His even-strength goal differentials there, a remarkable 65-39, then 56-33, and even his 53-52 last season, while not as impressive, came during a challenging 2024-25 campaign for the Bruins, where he was still a net positive relative to the rest of his team. Insert hockeyviz.com graphic of Zacha's defensive impact here, if applicable to video format. Crucially, as Zacha refined his game, he took on increasing responsibilities. He never managed to control high-danger chances in New Jersey, but he has consistently done so since arriving in Boston. In the 2024-25 season, he emerged as the team's most reliable defensive center. He also improved his face-off percentage, clocking in at 53.2% last year. Is he Patrice Bergeron 2.0? No, not even close. But Zacha is a player who can consistently produce around 60 points while facing above-average difficulty matchups and maintaining a well-above-average defensive impact. That sounds like a fantastic 2C, as long as the acquisition cost aligns with the production. The cost: what would it take to land Zacha? So, what would it cost the Canucks to bring Zacha to Vancouver? Would the Bruins accept the 15th overall pick for him? We believe they would. The same goes for any of the Canucks' top-tier prospects. However, for this particular player, we imagine the Canucks would be aiming for a lower price. Zacha is old enough that you can reasonably say his potential as a center has been maximized. He is what he is at this point, and what he isn't is someone with genuine 1C potential remaining. If the Canucks are going to part with a high-end future asset, it should probably be for someone with more upside. But that doesn't mean they can't find a fairer price for Zacha. The Bruins have been stockpiling draft picks and players in the 20 to 25 age range. Perhaps it could be as simple as a second-round pick, 1 or 2 B-level prospects, think Sawyer Mineo or Kirill Kudryavtsov, and the extra salary cap space that comes with shedding Zacha's contract to pursue a true 1C. Speaking of that contract, it's another 2 seasons at $4.75 million. It's expensive enough that the Bruins might want to clear it off their books as they pursue more expensive free agents and trade targets, but it's almost perfect for what the Canucks might want to spend on a genuine 2C. Zacha does have an 18 no-trade clause, but we don't foresee that being a major hurdle, especially after last season's performance in Boston. Both teams might be looking for a fresh start here, and that could also drive down the asking price. The fit, a perfect complement to Pettersson. We've analyzed many centers with potential for the Canucks so far. Zacha is a bit different. He's a practically finished product at this point, but he fits as a 2C who will never challenge Elias Pettersson for 1C status. At the same time, that consistent 50 to 60-point production, combined with his burgeoning defensive capabilities, makes him a fantastic complement. Having someone you can rely on for consistent offense and defense isn't a luxury Pettersson has often had in his career. Speaking of the Bruins, Zacha almost looks like an Elias Lindholm light, and Lindholm certainly had a positive impact on the Canucks center depth during his tenure here. Zacha definitely won't solve the Canucks' offensive woes single-handedly, but at the same time, he's a theoretically cheap enough acquisition with a low enough salary, which would leave Vancouver with plenty of cap space and available assets to continue pursuing other offensive options on the wing. In other words, Pavel Zacha appears to be a fantastic target for the Canucks to pursue this summer, as long as the Bruins are comfortable trading him as we expect they will be, and as long as they don't apply any old rival tax to their still bitter 2011 adversaries. He's undoubtedly a product the Canucks could use. That's all the time we have for this exclusive report. What are your thoughts on Pavel Zacha potentially joining the Canucks? Do you think he's the right fit, or should Vancouver look elsewhere? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this in-depth analysis, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more exclusive content. Your support helps us bring you the inside scoop on all things hockey. We'll catch you next time.